I will now introduce lesson 22 on the infinitive construct. There are two infinitives in Hebrew, the infinitive construct and the infinitive absolute. Of the two infinitive forms in Hebrew, the infinitive construct is more nominal or noun-like, hence the label construct. The form of the infinitive construct is as follows, as you can see with the paradigm here at the bottom. You have the root, pakad, that means to appoint, and you put a shavah under the first consonant and a holum between the second and third consonant of the root. This happens to make it identical to the imperative form, and you can compare that with the imperfect and the perfect that we've already had as verbal forms. Same would be true of a verb like bahar, which means to choose. But in this case, because of the guttural in the imperative form, you end up with a patah as the theme vowel. But the infinitive construct continues to have the holum, so it's more closely regular. Same thing with shema, which has a third guttural. That third guttural steals a furtive patah, and you get shemoa, to hear, the infinitive form. The imperative form is shema with the patah influenced by the guttural. So the general pattern is shavah under the first consonant, holum between the second and third consonant. Now it turns out that you can put pronominal suffixes with infinitive construct. And when you do that, the vowel pattern changes to some degree. What will often happen is that the holum of the theme vowel between the second and third consonant, that O vowel will gravitate back and become a kamatz hatuf. So you have a form here, pok do, which could be translated his visiting, or in certain contexts could also be translated he visits or he visited. But his visiting, the O vowel has moved from in between the second and third consonant back to the beginning. Though there's just a little bit of vocalization of the shavah here, otherwise the dalet would have a dog H in it, which it does not. So it's pod kado would be the pronunciation of it. And then pokada would be her visiting. And then there's two ways of saying you're visiting or you visited. You could either put the kaf is going to be at the end, ka, but it could be podaka, or it could be pakodka. Either way, whether you put the O at the beginning or put the O where it was originally with the holum between the second and third consonant, now it becomes short O. Nonetheless, it's more or less the same thing. And then your feminine singular would be pokdek. My visiting would be pokdi. Their visiting would be pokdam. That'd be there if it's a masculine plural there. If it's them women, then it'd be pokdan. And then you masculine plural, you're visiting. Again, two possibilities. Either put the O at the beginning, pokdakem, or pakodkem, either way. And then pokdaken would be your ladies visiting. And then pokdenu would be our visiting. So what is the use of the infinitive construct? Infinitive constructs often function as verbal nouns, taking either a subject or an object. And when the infinitive construct stands before a noun, the genitive of the construct, may be either the subject or the object of the verb. It could be a subjective genitive or an objective genitive, to use categories that are often referred to in Greek. So here you have the expression pakod ha'ish, the visiting of the man, or it could be the appointing of the man. Different glosses for pakod. But it could mean the man's visiting in the sense that the man is visiting, or it could mean even visiting the man, although you would expect a direct object marker possibly in that case. But if it's just construct relationship, it could still mean the same thing. So it could be the subject, the man is doing the visiting, or the object, someone is visiting the man. The ambiguity is to be resolved by the context. So here, for example, pakod ha'ish oto, literally the visiting of the man him. Well, oto is a direct object marker plus suffix, which means the him has to be the one visited or appointed, depending on the gloss you want to use. And so the man's visiting him means the man is visiting him. Now, pronominal suffixes added to infinitive construct more often than not function as subjects of the infinitive, though they can be objects. So if you have podkdo, his visiting, it probably means he is doing the visiting, or he is doing the appointing. As a verbal noun, infinitive construct may function as the subject or object of a sentence or as the object of a preposition. So here we have the example, chadalti kavod, and chadal means to stop or to cease. I ceased, kavod, to write. I ceased writing. I stopped writing. And so therefore the infinitive here is serving as the object of the verbal idea of ceasing. It's what you're ceasing. Or another example where it's used as a subject, Hakam Zukraka, literally wise is your remembering, but it means your remembering is wise. It is wise for you to remember. And again, the you is the grammatical subject of the verb, and then the object would be et haTorah. It is wise for you to remember the law. It can also be the object of a preposition. Here you have be molko, in his reigning, but in often means in the time of, in the sense of when he began to reign, when he became king, or something like that. But literally in the sense of when he was reigning. It's that kind of idea. And what you have to do is, take the verbal idea, take the subject, kind of play with it and make it fit the context in order to translate it. It doesn't necessarily translate mechanically. The most frequent use of the infinitive construct is in verbal or adverbial constructions. Such constructions usually include prepositions. Note the word usually, that means there are exceptions. Adverbial clauses often employ infinitive construct after preposition ba or ka. And here are some examples. Befuk kadi et ami. And that means ba, when, and then the heric yod pronominal suffix my, in my visiting my people, meaning when I visited my people, or it could be present, when I visit my people. There's context would determine whether it's past, present, or future. Or another example, kshomaka et hakol. Here you have shamada here in the infinitive form with a ka suffix and a preposition ka in the front. And so as or according to or when you hear is the way, literally according to your hearing the voice, but it means when you hear the voice or when you hear the sound, another gloss for kol. Now it should be clear from this that the infinitive construct does not express time by itself. The time has to be determined from the context. And one way that the time of the clause is expressed is by haya plus vav consecutive, or vayahi, indicating the time is past. But if it's vayhaya, then the time would be future. So if you have vayahi be koddi et ami, that would be vayahi is and it came to pass, but when, and then the e would be I, and then pakad in the infinitive would be in my visiting, and then at direct object marker, and then ami, my people. It came to pass in my visiting my people, but it means it came to pass when I visited my people. And so the vayahi gives you the time frame. It's converted imperfect or a preterite form that indicates that we're in the past. On the other hand, if you had vehaya, and it will come to pass, vepokdi, it will come to pass in my visiting et ami, my people, well then that gives you a time frame that would be future. Now, as Ross points out, the haya in these constructions don't have to be translated. They merely indicate the time of action. So if you're wanting to be highly literalistic about your translation, you translate it, and it shall come to pass, or it came to pass. But you could simply not translate it and to go directly to the verbal idea of the infinitive. When I visited my people, or something like that. By the way, he doesn't say that in the next clause you'd start with another vav, and if you translate it, and it came, and it will come to pass when I visit my people, the next vav would have to be translated that, if you make this, and it will come to pass. But if you don't translate it at all, when I visited my people, then you would also not translate the next vav in the clause that follows. So then if you said, when I visited my people, they were chastened, or something like that, then, or when I will visit my people, they will be chastened, as future in this particular clause. Well then, if you don't translate the vehaya, and it will come to pass, when I visit my people, that they will be chastened, you will just translate it, when I visit my people, they will be chastened, and you will not translate the vav. The infinitive construct occurs frequently with preposition la, but I don't have time to talk about that, so we'll continue that in the next video.